Your Excellency, the Under-Secretary General of the United Nations, ladies and gentlemen, a very good day to you all. It is a distinct pleasure to be invited and very happy to attend this event co-organized by the International Think Tank on LLDC and UN-OHRLLS. Sincere apologies for not being able to be there in person. I'm representing the Green Climate Fund. I'm Director of External Affairs, and we are very proud to work with developing countries to raise their ambition for climate action and support climate adaptation and mitigation projects, including in landlocked developing countries. We all know that the need for urgent climate action is more acute than ever. Nations must urgently transition from fossil fuels to prevent a catastrophic future on an overheated planet. More floods, droughts, heat waves, and wildfires, and especially the developing world is disproportionately being affected, as we all know, particularly the poor and the most vulnerable, including women and children, as we have seen with the floods in Pakistan last year. The transition to cleaner, greener, and low-carbon future will require significant increases in investment, and finance is key here. The estimates by the IPCC for the finance needed globally in new climate investments to limit the global warming below 1.5 degrees Celsius is around 1.6 to 3.8 trillion US dollars, and that's annually. Additional 140 to 300 billion, according to UNEP, is needed annually to adapt to impacts of climate change. At the same time, it is clear that the climate investment needs far outweigh the availability of public funding. Achieving investment on this scale, therefore, means capitalizing on current and emerging technological innovations, scaling up investments in programs and assets that also maximize the development co-benefits of climate action, and attracting the private sector, and also greening the financial sector is key. Therefore, the role of public finance, international climate finance, and international development institutions is key. It has to enter to de-risk the investments in developing countries. Let me explain in this context the unique role of the Green Climate Fund. GCF was established as a pivotal part of the global climate architecture and is tasked with channeling finance to developing nations in order to help realize the climate ambitions. Now, GCF has channeled over 12 billion US dollars in funding to over 200 projects, amounting to more than 40 billion when co-financing is included. We already invested in more than 130 countries around the world. We support developing countries along 4 avenues. First, we help countries establish a conducive environment for climate investment. GCF can provide grant-based technical assistance to enable policymakers to identify and implement an optimal mix of public policy instruments to create enabling conditions for domestic and foreign climate investment. Supporting integrated climate strategies and policies is also key. According to some estimates, if we integrate energy, water, urban, and transport infrastructure planning, that could reduce total infrastructure needs by almost 40%. The second avenue, GCF catalyzes climate innovation. By this, we mean facilitating the emergence of new climate technologies and business models in developing economies, and that is through serving as anchor investor and patient capital for the development of keystone climate solutions. The third avenue is for us to de-risk market creating projects, encourage and co-finance private sector to invest in new climate solutions, particularly with high development co-benefits. 1/3 of all GCF's funding so far went to private sector. We provide this financing by providing highly concessional co-financing. And finally, the fourth and important work stream involves strengthening and greening the domestic financial institutions. We're proud to say that we've supported many LLDCs with both funding proposals, funding their projects in both adaptation and mitigation. We also funded what's called readiness, and basically that's capacity building in helping with the national adaptation planning, but also overall being ready to access climate finance. And that includes also project preparedness facility, which we have been also funding. And these are all sort of grant finance. In landlocked developing countries, we've already approved 152 readiness grants, and that totals 106 million in those readiness grants, out of which almost 2/3 have been dispersed. With regards to the National Adaptation Plan grants, we funded about 24 NAPs in LLDCs, and with over $59 million in financing. Overall, we allocate about 3 million per country as a grant for NAPs one-off, whereas for readiness, it's annual, around sort of $1 million, which every country can apply and access. Now, of course, the most important is funding projects themselves. So I'm also very proud to say and happy to share with you that out of 24% of all the GCF total funding, about 24% out of the total funding went to LLDC countries, and that totals to $2.8 billion in funding. And if we include co-financing, that gets to 7.4 billion. Out of the 79 approved funding projects and investment in LDCs, and out of which 16 are multi-regional, 69, and that's sort of more than, almost 90% are under implementation. We also put a lot of emphasis to work with direct access entities, accredited entities that can access funding from GCF. And we note that in LLDCs, we have 46 direct access entities, and that include Ministry of Environment of Rwanda. It also includes BOA, DBSA, and for example, Hasbank in Mongolia as well. And most of them also have approved projects. I would like to thank you all for your attention, and I would like to share with you and show you brief videos of 4 projects in some of the LLDC countries that GCF has funded. And these are project examples from Mongolia, Rwanda, Bhutan, and Malawi. Thank you very much, and good luck with the forum.
urabona amashanyarazi aragenda buri munsi buri kanya nashakishije uburyo ki nagira umuriro uhoraho mpitamo gukoresha imirasire bbox televiziyo ikaka abakiriya bagakomeza bakenjoyinga nk'uko bisanzwe muri rusange umuryango wanjye ubuzima bwacu bwarahindutse ku bwa business.
These markets are still young, so the GCF role of making a commitment sends, I think, a very crucial stabilizing signal that tends to attract others to the party.